There is a quiet hunger most people carry, the hunger to be understood. Not praised, not admired, understood. To have someone look at your words, your actions, your silence, and see what you meant. This desire runs deep, deeper than validation, deeper than approval. It is the desire to not be alone inside your own mind. When someone misunderstands you, it feels heavier than disagreement. It feels like erasure, as if your intention disappeared, as if your effort was unseen, as if who you are was translated incorrectly. And the instinct is immediate. Explain, clarify, defend. Repeat yourself in better wording. Because being misunderstood feels like losing control of your identity. The mind equates understanding with safety. If they understand me, they won't judge me. If they understand me, they won't mislabel me. If they understand me, they won't reject me. So we speak more. We justify more. We over-explain. We adjust tone. We soften language. We sharpen language. We search for the perfect phrasing that guarantees alignment. But alignment is not guaranteed. No matter how clearly you speak, someone will filter your words through their own experience, through their fears, through their biases, through their assumptions. And in that filtering, distortion happens. The cost begins here, the cost of needing to be understood. Because if your stability depends on being understood, you will constantly seek correction. You will constantly adjust yourself. You will constantly monitor perception. That monitoring is exhausting. It pulls your attention outward. It makes you hyper-aware of reaction, hyper-aware of tone shifts, hyper-aware of how your words landed. You begin living inside other people's interpretations instead of your own clarity. The desire to be understood is human, natural, but unchecked, it becomes dependency. Dependency on consensus, dependency on agreement, dependency on reassurance. And the moment reassurance is absent, instability rises. You replay conversations, you question your delivery. You wonder if you should have stayed silent, or spoken differently, or said less, or said more. Your peace becomes conditional. Conditional on whether others grasp you correctly. Conditional on whether your intention survived their perception. That is the hidden vulnerability. To want understanding is not weakness. To require it is fragility. Because the world does not owe you accurate interpretation. People will misunderstand. They will misread tone. They will assign motives. They will fill gaps with assumptions. And if every misunderstanding shakes you, you will never be steady. The hunger to be understood is powerful, but power without discipline becomes dependence. To be understood requires exposure. You cannot be clearly seen while remaining concealed. You cannot be accurately interpreted while editing every edge. Understanding demands visibility, and visibility carries risk. When you attempt to clarify yourself, you reveal motive, you reveal belief, you reveal internal structure. You remove ambiguity. Ambiguity feels safe. It protects you from mislabeling. It allows others to project what they prefer. But clarity removes that protection. To be understood, you must be precise. And precision makes you accountable. When you say what you actually think, you cannot retreat into vagueness. When you define your values, you cannot pretend flexibility. When you express your boundaries, you cannot later deny them. Clarity locks identity into form. Most people say they want to be understood. Few are willing to endure the exposure required. Because exposure invites evaluation. Evaluation invites judgment. Judgment invites rejection. When someone truly sees you, they also see your limitations, your contradictions, your unfinished growth, your rough edges. Being understood does not guarantee admiration. It guarantees visibility. And visibility removes control. You cannot fully manage how someone interprets what they now clearly see. You cannot soften your outline after you've drawn it sharply. You cannot hide behind misinterpretation once you've removed ambiguity. The clearer you become, the less room there is to maneuver. This is the cost. To seek understanding is to surrender control over perception. You may speak carefully, you may articulate with discipline, you may state your intentions precisely, and still, someone may disagree. Someone may reject. Someone may walk away. Clarity does not protect you from loss. It accelerates it. It filters faster. It divides faster. It exposes incompatibility quickly. And most people prefer ambiguity because ambiguity delays discomfort. If you are unclear, others can imagine you differently. If you are undefined, you are less confrontational. If you are adjustable, you are less threatening. But you are also less solid. The discipline of clarity requires internal stability, because once you are clear, you must endure the consequences of being known. You must tolerate disagreement without dissolving. You must tolerate rejection without redefining yourself. You must tolerate silence without panicking. To be understood is to stand exposed, and exposure demands strength. If you seek understanding without building resilience, you will fracture the moment someone responds honestly. Because honest response is not always comforting. Sometimes being understood means someone sees your flaws clearly. Sometimes it means they see limits you didn't want acknowledged. Sometimes it means they recognize you and decide you are not aligned with them. That is the price. Clarity brings understanding. Understanding brings exposure. Exposure requires strength. Without strength, the desire to be understood becomes a liability. If you're done living in distraction, like and subscribe. This channel exists to help you protect your attention and build something real. Being misunderstood does not feel neutral. It feels threatening. Not physically, psychologically. It unsettles identity. It disrupts self-perception. It challenges control. When someone assigns you a motive you did not have, you feel distorted. When someone reduces your intention to something smaller, you feel minimized. When someone mislabels you, you feel misrepresented. The reaction is immediate. Correct it, clarify it, reclaim the narrative. Because the mind equates misunderstanding with loss of control over how you exist in someone else's world. You want your internal reality to match their external perception. But that alignment is fragile. Every person filters you through their own lens, their history, their expectations, their insecurities, their preferences. You cannot control those filters. You can only control your clarity. Yet most people do not stop at clarity. They move into pursuit. They chase understanding. They argue interpretation. They defend identity repeatedly. And in that pursuit, they become reactive. Emotion sharpens, tone tightens, ego activates. Because being misunderstood feels like an attack. Not an attack on your actions, on your self-concept. If they think you are careless, but you see yourself as disciplined, the conflict is internal. If they see you as distant, but you believe you are reserved, the misalignment destabilizes you. You begin negotiating your identity to regain comfort. Maybe I should soften this. Maybe I should explain more. Maybe I should adjust how I present myself. And gradually, you start reshaping yourself not from conviction, but from reaction. This is the psychological cost. The more you fear misunderstanding, the more you edit yourself to prevent it. Editing is not always compromise. Sometimes it is refinement. But when it is driven by fear, it becomes erosion. Erosion of authenticity, erosion of boundaries, erosion of directness. The fear of being misunderstood creates hypervigilance. You scan for signals, you monitor reactions, you replay conversations, you analyze tone. Peace disappears because your stability now depends on external interpretation. If every misunderstanding requires correction, you will never rest. There will always be another lens, another projection, another assumption, another incomplete conclusion. Misunderstanding is inevitable. Total control over perception is impossible. The attempt to achieve it creates anxiety. The disciplined mind recognizes this. It distinguishes between clarification and obsession, between explanation and compulsion. You can clarify once, maybe twice, but beyond that, you must tolerate misinterpretation. Because the alternative is constant negotiation of who you are. There comes a point where explanation becomes erosion. You clarified, you stated your intention, you defined your position, and still, they do not understand. Now the question changes, not, how do I make them see, but, can I remain steady if they never do? This is the cost. Not everyone will interpret you accurately. Not everyone will accept your framing. Not everyone will align with your self-definition. And you must decide, will you destabilize yourself to correct every perception, or will you tolerate distortion without collapse? Standing unexplained requires internal solidity. It requires trusting your own clarity more than external agreement. It requires accepting that misunderstanding is not always a problem to solve. Sometimes it is a boundary. The disciplined individual knows when to clarify and when to release. Not from apathy, from proportion. You do not owe endless explanation to every interpretation. You do not owe constant defense to every projection. You do not owe emotional labor to every misreading. If you chase universal understanding, you will fracture, because universality does not exist. Every person will see you differently. Some will see strength as coldness. Some will see restraint as indifference. Some will see confidence as arrogance. You cannot correct all of it, and trying to will thin you out. There is strength in allowing misinterpretation to exist without response, not because it is accurate, because you are not controlled by it. When you no longer panic at being misunderstood, you become stable. When you no longer need consensus to feel secure, you become independent. You speak clearly. You act consistently. You correct when necessary. And then, you let perception settle where it will. This is not indifference to truth. It is discipline over ego. The need to be understood is human. The ability to remain steady without it is strength. Not everyone will grasp you. Not everyone will agree. Not everyone will stay. But if your identity is internally anchored, misinterpretation will not move you. You will not over-explain. You will not overcorrect. You will not reshape yourself for comfort. You will remain aligned, clear, grounded. If this clarified something for you, like the video. If you value internal stability over external validation, subscribe. Stand steady, even when unseen.